swinging a fly ball. Left field is deep. It's way back. The Tigers are going to the World Series.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Nick Buckler. With me, as always, Dan Myers. Dan, thanks for coming back for yet another fun show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We got a lot to touch on this week. And starting off with the Tigers, they've been doing good right now. They had a little bit of a shaky road trip. They started off in Minnesota last week, where they took 2 of 3, but they did not look good doing it.
Nope, not at all. When you go into Minnesota, it's almost a given that, we should be taking care of business over there. That doesn't seem to be the case. I think Tigers fans were gripping a little bit and just a little worried about the performance, but we'll see if they can turn something around, get some sparks, some momentum.
Yeah, the Minnesota, the Twins, they've been playing some good baseball, actually. They're up now to 13-12. That's good for third in the American League Central, a place where no one thought they'd be at this point of the season or at any point of the season, to be honest. Break it down the first game, Tigers sneak away with a 5-4 win, come back with a 3-2 loss. Anibal Sanchez finally rights the ship. He had a quality start, 3 earned runs over 7 innings and still gets the loss. And then, his ERA is up. He won an ERA title 2 years ago, and now it's up near 6. He's struggling right now.
Yeah, he is. It's not too comforting right now watching him go to the mound. It's like I often refer to a teeter-totter battle with me. I'm feeling good, and then the next inning, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Is he that reliable? We'll see. But it's still pretty early, but these early games do count, so we need a strong performance from not just him, but all of the pitchers.
Wednesday was a great game for Tigers fans. They were down 7-3 going into, I think, the 7th inning. Miguel Cabrera hits 2 home runs. I think the first one's still flying. They only marked it at 432 feet. I think he got gypped on that. That was close to 500. He hit that one up to the triple deck, rows deep. And then he comes back again in the 9th for insurance and makes it 10-7 with a solo shot to center field. That's a great come-from-behind win, Dan.
Absolutely, yeah. It was really frustrating at first to turn the game on. Fortunately, I walked away from the TV and got some stuff done. Come back and thought they were playing a joke on me. It was unbelievable. Great hitting by Miggy.
They moved to Kansas City. A lot of people think this is going to be the 2 teams battling it out for the American League Central. First 2 games were a struggle. They lose 8-1 and 4-1 respectively. And Alfredo Simon, 4-0 going into his start on Saturday. He pitched, and they lose at 4-1. And he drops to 4-1 on the season.
4-1, yes. Unfortunately, a lot of confidence, but like we said, a lot of confidence in the guy. But as far every pitcher has its day. That just wasn't going for him, unfortunately.
It wasn't. They had 2 more games. Simon, he started Friday, which would be the 2nd game of the series. Moving on to Saturday, David Price throws a complete game, bounces back, and gets the win in a 2-1 score.
Yep. Yeah. After the past couple games, 2 weeks ago, he had a little shaken up, but he looks like he's bouncing back pretty well, and he's feeling confident.
He is. And then the game yesterday, Anibal Sanchez takes a perfect game into the 6th inning, where it then gets broken up, and Kansas City scored some runs. But Tigers hold on. Alex Avila had a big game. Miguel Cabrera hit a home run. It was a big game for the Tigers. Get a split in Kansas City, a place where they've struggled in the past and to start the season, and that's not a place they're going to want to struggle if they want to contend for an American League Central title.
That's true. Yeah, like I said earlier, these early games, you really have to just get those, lock them up. I'm glad we can sneak away with some wins, but when you get frustrating losses like that, I hope it doesn't come back to bite us.
The road trip doesn't end there. They start the week coming ahead. They go to Chicago Tuesday through Thursday, and Chicago is a team struggling right now. They were favorites with the Tigers and Royals in the American League Central, and they're off to a bad start right now. Good for last in the American League Central. And then they finish off, that's the end of the road trip, and then they finish off the week back at home against those Kansas City Royals that they faced this past weekend.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a good trip for the Tigers to gain some momentum. It feels like there's not too much light behind their eyes right now. It's just like just that downtime for them. So hopefully they can pull away with some wins in this trip and then come home for KC and give us fans a good show.
A couple quick things to note about the month of April that just passed us. Tigers are now in sole possession of first place at 17-9. And 2 players of the month, the offensive player of the month was Miguel Cabrera. He's just hitting the cover off the ball, hitting over 370. With power, RBIs, his OPS is off the charts. And then the pitcher of the month was a shock to me. Joakim Soria coming in for the injured Joe Nathan, and he's, I think, 6 for 6 in save opportunities, so that's good to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love seeing Miggy go yard every time. It's great. It's nice, and it's confidence showing on his part, and he's doing a great job right now. So if he can just keep it up, that'd be great.
Never gets old.
No.
So moving on to more of a disappointing part of the show, where the Detroit Red Wings were eliminated from playoff contention this past week, dropping the last 2 games of the series after leading 3-2, coming home, hoping to end the series on home ice at Joe Louis Arena, Game 6, where they drop a heartbreaker 5-2. The game was a lot closer than the score, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Tampa Bay was a good team. I feel like we didn't pull the trigger when we should have. But I feel like it was a really good learning experience for those rookies. I heard Mickey Roman saying something about that loss. We should have wrapped it up at home, at least for our 3rd win. They'll remember that, you know, as long as they're playing. And it's not going to happen again. It's something they'll definitely forget or remember. They won't forget, and it'll be in the back of their head, and we don't have to worry about seeing something like that again.
Game 7 back at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay, where a lot of people wrote the Red Wings off, but I still had a little bit of faith because they had won Game 5 in such impressive fashion. But they dropped this one 2-0 in a game that I really think the Red Wings deserved to win. They outshot Tampa Bay 31-17. Peter Mrazek played well. 1 goal was a late empty netter, and it was just a bad bounce off the boards. But no Nicholas Kronwall. He was suspended in Game 6 for his hit on Kucherov there, and I thought it was a clean hit, maybe worthy of a penalty, but not a suspension, especially for a Game 7. It really putting your number 1 pair defenseman out, and then Marek Zidlitsky comes up with a concussion as a late scratch, so the rookie Russian Alexei Marchenko gets the call, as well as number 4 Jakob Kindl.
Yeah, and just goes on, again, another year where it's just a series of unfortunate events for the Wings. Personally, I think that was a horrible call by the NHL. It's the first time in NHL history that someone was suspended for a Game 7. I think it's just a black eye for them. I don't think they handled that correctly, but what can you do? You know, it's just the Wings. Luck wasn't on our side again, and yeah, the one good thing about it, though, is we found our goaltender in Peter Mrazek. I thought that was a huge, huge series for him, and I think it gives some Red Wings fans some rest as far as what's going on next season with the goalie situation.
Before we get to the goalie situation, I want to touch on one thing about players that were playing with injuries throughout the playoffs. It comes out on Locker Cleanout Day, where players were playing with injuries throughout the whole series. One big one was Jonathan Ericsson. A lot of people were getting hard on him because he did not have a good series at all, playing with Nicholas Kronwall on the top pair. Apparently before Game 1, they were warming up, kicking the soccer ball around in Tampa Bay. He broke his toe, so he was playing with a broken toe. We have Justin Abdelkader was playing with a broken hand. Pavel Datsyuk was playing with a severely sprained ankle. And, you know, when your best players are hurt like that, it's tough to win, but they're troopers. Hockey players are the toughest in the round. And another big injury that came up was Henrik Zetterberg was still battling a little bit of a back injury. It came out all season long. But so that could be why he was slower, maybe not as bright as he has been in the past. And a big one was Kyle Quincy. He has bone chips in his ankle. He's going to undergo surgery within the next couple weeks to repair those.
Yeah, unfortunately, and those are huge injuries. Our key players, just something wasn't going on with them. They weren't clicking. And it just, yeah, they had potential, but the Zetterberg wasn't looking his normal game. Obviously, Datsyuk, Abdelkader, I mean, even Ericsson, yeah. It was hard. It was frustrating to watch, but I think we all knew deep inside something wasn't right. These weren't our stars that they were. So to see them, you know, to hear about those injuries, it makes sense. Yeah, we sort of knew something was going on, but unfortunately, that was just a kick to the gut for Red Wings fans.
So now 2 big questions that surround the Red Wings right now. The biggest one, Mike Babcock. What does his future hold? Is he going to stay here? Is he going to go maybe to Toronto, where they offered him the GM as well as the coach, but he already had come out and said he has no interest in becoming a general manager. He likes coaching, he likes being on the bench with his team, and he likes having someone above him that's calling the shots and puts a team on the table for him to coach. Another one that's come up recently is Edmonton. They got that number 1 draft pick now, and everyone, Connor McDavid, they say, is going to be a player for the century, number 97, and he's from the area. He's from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, but the history here in Detroit. He spent the last 10 years here. His children grew up here. His family likes it here. I believe he likes it here. And right now I'm leaning 60-40 that he stays in Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. The Toronto deal, I don't think it's going to be down to money. And they're promising him a lot of money. It's clearly that's not going to be the issue. It's just where he's comfortable. And Toronto, would be nice for him, but I really don't think he wants to go through that whole rebuilding process. And let's face it, Toronto's got a lot of rebuilding to do, and Mike is not looking forward to do that. So Edmonton sort of scares me, but I think, personally, I feel like he's going to stay here. It's just he's comfortable here. The family likes it. He's made some roots here, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
And a quote that came out over the weekend that Babcock had said to Ansar Khan from MLive.com, he said, right now, there is no better job out there. Normally when he's taken jobs before, there's been a better job. And right now he said, there is no better job. So that's a big thing that came out to maybe hopefully get him to stay in Detroit. But if he does leave, the coaching contenders, Jeff Blashill down in Grand Rapids, a lot of people say he could be a good NHL coach. And Todd McClellan, former assistant under Mike Babcock, was let go or mutually parted ways in San Jose. He could be a fit here as well. True.
That, yeah, I'm not really sure about Todd McClellan. He did do some great things over there, but we'll see. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out, but I don't think I'm too worried about Mike leaving.
Within the next week, Babcock, he did say 10 days last week he would have a decision. So he's not one that's going to stretch it out for the tabloids and whatnot. So that should be something we could touch on next week if he makes a decision. Another thing before we wrap up Red Wing talk is goaltending. Jimmy Howard came out and said he's not going to request a trade from the Red Wings, as it looks like Peter Mrazek had stolen the starting job. They're going to go under a complete goalie competition between him and Jimmy Howard.
Yes. I feel like Mrazek's got the job right now, but, it might, like you said, it might be a real competition once training camp starts. So I think we'll have a better idea once that gets going, how Mrazek looks in training camp and how Jimmy looks at training camp. Jimmy's got a real strong road to climb up, especially after this series, the performance that Mrazek put out. So it should be interesting. I think, personally, I'd rather go with Mrazek. He looks more sound.
As would I.
But I think this summer is really going to be a real evaluation with Jimmy and himself. So hopefully he can be confident, and we can have two huge, strong goaltenders when the next season starts. But we'll see. We'll see come training camp and early on. So
Jimmy Howard still does have some trade value if they elect to go down that road, and maybe give Gus the backup job.
That's true. Yeah, if we can get rid of him, unfortunately, I like Jimmy Howard, but we got some other holes to fill. So if we can get rid of him and make some great trades, acquisitions, that'd be great.
Another thing that happened this week was the NFL draft. This was something that was huge to watch for all of America. As football is still America's game, whether you say baseball is America's pastime or not. All eyes were on the draft. Jameis Winston goes number 1 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as Marcus Mariota going number 2, the first time two quarterbacks have gone 1 and 2 in quite some time. But let's jump into the Lions. They selected 23rd overall. They selected a doctor, Laken Tomlinson, Duke guard, and he's really going to bolster this offensive line with Larry Warford, LeAdrian Waddle, Riley Reif, and Swanson as well moving to center. I think it's going to be a much improved core group of guys, and I'm excited to see.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great story if you've heard anything about Laken Tomlinson, the reason he was going to school. But he's a smart guy, graduated from Duke, and hopefully it'll transcribe to the field, making plays, reading plays, routes. So that was a nice pickup for the Lions.
Then they select Alex Carter, a Stanford corner, in the second round. And I think this guy's really going to be explosive. He might steal a starting job. He had his Rasheed Mathis, Nevin Lawson to compete with, as well as Darius Slay. I think he's going to be the best pick of the draft. Another guy I think really has potential to be the best pick of the Lions draft is Amir Abdullah. He was a running back from Nebraska. I really like this pick. It's more of a depth pick. He's going to accompany Joique Bell in the backfield, as well as Theo Riddick from Notre Dame, who they selected just 3 years ago. I think he's going to be a really good pick. He's got wheels. He's fast. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's kind of a power guy, too, but not quite as much of a power back as Joique Bell. And I think that's why they picked him to pair with Joique.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely want to improve their running game. And he had monster numbers. He had 4,588 rushing yards through his career, and then 39 rushing touchdowns in 4 years. So great numbers. That's something to be very excited about.
Yeah, I really like the pickup. One thing he did not do that well in college was hold on to the ball. He did have a little bit of slippery hands, I guess you could say. But we're used to that here. We had Reggie Bush here for the last 3 seasons, and he was promising the fans he would never fumble again, and then he would go out and fumble in his first carry of the next game. But some of the best backs come with fumbling problems. Look at DeMarco Murray. He fumbled a lot. I had him on my fantasy team last year, and those fumble loss were a killer. Another pickup that they made was Gabe Wright, defensive tackle from Auburn, in the 4th round. They traded up to get him. They lose Ndamukong Suh this offseason. He signs a mammoth contract in Miami. They pick up Haloti Ngata in a trade with the Baltimore Ravens. So I think this pick here it's more of a depth guy at defensive tackle. He's going to get in the rotation with those guys. And I think it's a real good pickup from the Auburn Tigers.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some great leadership there that can really help form and mold this guy. So definitely, hopefully, learns some good tactics and takes control. That's a big gap to fill with Ndamukong Suh, but he's gonna be gone anyway. So no surprise.
A pick that makes me scratch my head is Michael Burton, the fullback they selected in the 5th round. I don't know if they're trying to bring back more of a power running style to the NFL, because there's not that many fullbacks in the league. The Lions haven't had one since Jerome Felton a few years ago. He then left to go, block in front of Adrian Peterson in Minnesota. It could be a good pick if they do convert back to more of a run-first kind of offense, but I don't think they can with all the weapons they have. Obviously, you have one of the best, if not the best receiver in the game in Calvin Johnson on one side. You have Golden Tate. You have, if Pettigrew, he's got size. If he can hold on to the ball for once in his life, it would be great to see. Eric Ebron is a weapon still, even though he had a slow rookie season. I think he's going to bounce back big time. You have Matthew Stafford slinging the rock to him. I think he's going to be much improved this year. He's under the radar, just as the closer is and the goaltender is in Detroit. The quarterback is one of those 3 who are always under intense scrutiny from the fans. I think Stafford's going to bounce back, and maybe with Michael Burton, maybe he's going to be a threat out of the backfield to catch and run and maybe knock guys down with a stiff arm here and there. It's a questionable pick still for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. It is a questionable pick, but overall, it should be a good not rebuilding year, but this would be a very interesting year. Stafford, it's time to make or break it. He does look confident. He's looking like he's full of himself. So we'll see how he turns out this year. I'm pretty excited to see how it turns out, though.
Another questionable pick was the 6th round, Quandre Diggs, a cornerback from Texas. He's undersized. He doesn't have the speed that a corner would like to have, especially if he is undersized. And his jump isn't there either. But you never know. He could be a guy on the scout team that makes these wide receivers better. And I guess he had some off-the-field issues as well. Yeah,
that was a pretty questionable pick also. You don't really want to see, too many questionable guys in your locker room because, it's about a team effort, obviously. So to see the Lions pick up on a questionable guy with a kind of a crazy background like that, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully he can turn things around. He's in the show now. He's in the NFL, so, hopefully he doesn't take it for granted.
Yeah, and then their last pick of the draft was Corey Robinson, an offensive tackle, more of a depth feel. He's going to get in the rotation with Warford, Waddle, Reef, and their 1st-round pick, Laken Tomlinson. I think it's a good pick. You can always take a chance on your 7th-round pick because you never know. You're not expecting those guys to do anything as it is. It's a deep draft. And overall, I think the Lions, they had a good draft this year, and that's rare to say in years past. But overall, I liked what they did.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it was nice to actually hear the critics actually be happy with it, whether you're listening to the radio, reading forums, and chat rooms, whatever. It was very nice to see that. I think it quenched everyone's thirst for some good pickups. So it should be an interesting season.
That it should. And a signing after the draft that I would really like to talk about was the New England Patriots. They signed former Michigan quarterback Devin Gardner, and they're going to convert him to wide receiver, where he did actually play bits and pieces of his tenure at Michigan. He spent 5 years here in Ann Arbor, and you never know. Bill Belichick's a guy who can turn guys into something. And when you have Tom Brady slinging you the rock, I think even maybe I could be a decent receiver if he was throwing it out to me. So good for Devin Gardner.
Absolutely.
Good to see, and I like the Patriots, and I like what they're doing.
Yeah, it'll be great to see him commit to a full-time position, or that this ping pong battle back and forth. So I'm excited to see how it turns out for him. That was always a big issue when he was playing at Michigan. So hopefully it turns out great for him.
One last thing I would like to talk about before we head out for the day is over the weekend, one of the biggest fights ever in boxing happened on pay-per-view from Las Vegas, MGM Grand Casino. Floyd Mayweather, unbeaten, 47-0, welterweight champion of the world, facing Manny Pacquiao, who's arguably the best as well. And numbers don't lie. Floyd Mayweather has never lost. And it took a lot to make this fight finally happen, but May 2nd, 2015, it finally did, and I was really disappointed.
Oh, absolutely. The backstory of this fight coming together was more entertaining than this rodeo, this ballet that they were going on. It was really, really embarrassing for the sport of boxing, and could be the possible nail in the coffin. You had the two giant superstars finally meeting each other. It was like the WrestleMania of boxing, and unfortunately, the entertainment value wasn't there. Overpriced, pay-per-views or what have you, seating there alone. Complete embarrassment, and hopefully they can dig themselves out. Boxing's a great sport to watch. It's very entertaining. So we'll see. I personally don't think there's going to be a rematch. I think they got their checks, and they're just going to hit the money or hit the road. But we'll see. It should be interesting.
Combined, they made $300 million in that fight. I think it was more of a business fight than anything else. Floyd Mayweather gets $183 million for the fight alone, and really I don't think they were trying to hurt each other. They weren't trying to land punches. Floyd knows how to score points when it comes to boxing, and that's all he did. He wanted to get his point across, get the win, stay undefeated, 48-0, welterweight champion of the world, and he just threw body shots and stayed on defense. He's the best defensive fighter in the world, and really what he wanted to do was win and make money, and him and Pacquiao, even outside of the ring, they're friends or acquaintances. They hugged each other afterwards and said, "We just made $300 million."
The joke's on you guys.
It really was. I would feel upset if I spent $100 for this pay-per-view fight. Luckily, I didn't. I went somewhere where someone did spend $100 million $100 for the pay-per-view fight, and use them for their TV.
Yeah, the last time I was this disappointed in boxing was Rocky VI. This was horrible. It was just, what can you do? You knew something was up. It was just too good to be true. So to have that happen, looking back at it now, don't be surprised.
Right, all the hype and everything else. These guys are the best offensive fighter, best defensive fighter. If you look in hindsight, it's kind of what you may have expected. You weren't going to expect a knockout in the first round or a knockout in general. None of these guys were going to get knocked out. But overall, yeah, even if there is a rematch, I don't think you're going to see as many people paying to see it.
Yeah, absolutely not. And if there is a rematch, it should be for free. That was embarrassing. That's too bad. Like I said, it was just media, everyone overhyping. Not overhyping it. Should have been a great match, but it wasn't. They both walked out of there looking like they just got out of a restaurant or something. Their faces are fine. There's no blood, and boxing. That's what you want to see. It's fighting. So it was really disappointing.
And Floyd Mayweather had the Burger King on his side, as well as Jimmy Kimmel and Justin Bieber walking behind him. So right there, the Burger King, he doesn't lose, and neither does Floyd.
No.
So I'd like to thank everyone for watching yet another fun episode of The Wrap Up. For Dan Myers, I'm Nick Buckler. Thanks for watching.